Today, a complex Ukrainian drone operation unfolded deep within Russian airspace, targeting critical military logistics. The mission began when 6 Ukrainian UJ-26 Beaver long-range attack drones crossed into Russian territory with a singular high-value objective, a 38-car military train laden with enough ammunition and fuel to sustain a significant offensive operation. At 2:15 a.m., as the drone formation proceeded toward its objective, it encountered a significant challenge. The satellite navigation and communication links were severed. A Russian Repellent 1 electronic warfare system had engaged the drones. This system is designed not just to jam signals, but to hijack control of enemy drones by transmitting false commands, attempting to force them to land or return. Russian operators monitored the system, expecting the Ukrainian drones to become unresponsive and fall under their command. However, the hijacking attempt was unsuccessful. The UJ-26 Beaver drones are equipped with a frequency-hopping spread-spectrum communication system. This technology allows the drone's control signal to rapidly switch between thousands of frequencies per second. By the time the Russian Repellent 1 system could lock onto a single frequency, the drone signal had already migrated to another, rendering the hijacking commands ineffective. Having overcome the electronic assault, the operational plan advanced to its next stage. The 6 drone formations split as planned. 3 drones designated as the southern group diverted to follow the course of the Severodonetsk River Valley. This route added approximately 40 kilometers, but was crucial for stealth, keeping them below the radar horizon of distant air defense systems by flying at a low altitude. Ukrainian intelligence had meticulously mapped the locations of known Russian radar installations, identifying corridors where terrain features and the Earth's curvature created significant blind spots. Navigating these corridors demanded extreme precision. Flying at 180 km/h, the pilots had to maintain an exact altitude. Ascending above 150 ft would risk detection by long-range systems like the S-300, while a deviation of even 1 kilometer could place them within the range of mobile systems like the Tor M2. Meanwhile, the northern group maintained a more direct course near the M4 highway, serving as a deliberate decoy. This split formation immediately presented Russian air defense commanders with a tactical problem. Radar operators detected the northern group and began vectoring Pantsir, mobile air defense batteries for interception. This action committed valuable assets to one axis of attack, leaving the southern approach exposed. The Earth's curvature concealed the southern group at their flight altitude of 25 meters. The physical horizon limited the detection range of ground-based radar to just 20 kilometers, effectively hiding them until their final approach. At 2:26 a.m., the northern group reached its primary objective, the Olovsky power substation. Their infiltration was achieved using a technique known as radar gate threading, flying through radar blind spots and briefly ascending over a argiline for less than 3 seconds to get a navigational fix before descending again. This brief exposure is generally insufficient for automated air defense systems to classify and engage a target. 2 hastily deployed Zu-23 anti-aircraft positions defended the substation. The Zu-23 is a twin-barreled 23mm autoc cannon capable of firing 2,000 rounds per minute with an effective range of 2,500 mm. While less effective against modern jets, its high volume of fire is formidable against slower targets like drones. However, its operation relies heavily on visual tracking as these positions lacked radar guidance. The lead Beaver drone's thermal camera identified the target, a large 330 kV transformer, a core component of the regional power grid. This single piece of equipment powered at least 6 air defense installations, including the Pantsir battery at Salsk. The Ukrainian plan depended on neutralizing this transformer to temporarily disable the local air defense network. 2 kilometers from the substation, the 3 drones began a coordinated attack. The lead drone climbed to 300 meters, deliberately exposing itself to the Russian gunners. As expected, both Zu-23 crews directed their fire at the high-altitude target. While they were focused upward, the second and third drones approached at low altitude from opposite sides. The second drone ascended just 100 meters from the perimeter, a range too close for the Zu-23 cannons to depress their barrels and engage. Simultaneously, the lead drone executed a barrel roll to disrupt the gunner's aim. Ukrainian pilots had studied Russian gun camera footage and learned that gunners tend to lead targets by a predictable margin. By reversing direction mid-roll, the pilot caused the gunners to overcorrect. During this confusion, the third drone flew in from the east through a narrow 10-meter gap between high-voltage cables, forcing the defenders to hold fire to avoid damaging their own infrastructure. All three drones then converged on the transformer. The second drone struck first, hitting the transformer's base with a 20 kW KZ-6-shaped charge, which ruptured the cooling system. The resulting jet of molten copper pierced the steel housing, and the superheated metal vaporized the cooling oil, causing a large fuel-air explosion. 2 seconds later, the high-altitude drone dived and struck the transformer's top bushing. The third drone hit the control cabinet, disabling automated damage control systems. With no path to ground, 330,000 volts of electricity began arcing, and grid protective relays triggered a cascading power failure across the region. At military sites, emergency generators were activated. But for the next 20 minutes, radar screens and computer systems would be rebooting, severely degrading the integrated air defense network. 7 minutes later at 2:33 a.m., the Pantsir S1 crew at the Sulk railway station was effectively operating blind. The power failure at Alovsky had disabled their early warning radars and communication links. Though the Pantsir had its own power, it was now an isolated unit, unable to receive targeting data from the broader network, reducing its reaction time from minutes to seconds. At this moment, the three drones from the southern group were making their final approach. They had navigated 155 mi by following railway lines whose metallic structures create radar clutter, a technique called infrastructure masking. Their arrival was timed to coincide with the Pantsir crew's shift change at 2:30 a.m., a period identified by Ukrainian intelligence as a window of reduced readiness. Without GPS, the pilots navigated by identifying terrain features in the pouring rain. Aboard the Pantsir, a gunner spotted a flicker of heat on his rain-graded thermal display. He slewed the turret, but the hydraulics felt sluggish on reduced power. The fire control computer, lacking primary radar data, struggled for 3 seconds to generate a firing solution from the optical feed. When he attempted to fire, the system failed as the battery voltage was too low. Switching to emergency power, he bypassed the safety interlocks and fired a 57E6 missile. The missile's radio command link failed after 400 meters, another consequence of the unstable power supply, and it flew harmlessly over the target. In response, the three UJ-26 drones executed a scatter tactic. One rolled left and dived, another moved right and climbed, while the third held its course. The gunner instinctively tracked the most visible target, the climbing drone. By the time he realized his error, the other two drones had moved out of sight. The $15 million Pantsir system had been neutralized as an effective defense. At 2:41 a.m., the three drones regrouped for their attack on the Salsk railway station. They approached from different directions and at staggered altitudes of 50, 100, and 150 meters, complicating any remaining manual defense efforts. Their thermal cameras confirmed the target, the 38-car train composed of fuel tankers and cars carrying 152mm artillery shells and rockets. The attack was precisely sequenced. The first drone struck the locomotive's engine and its shaped charge ruptured fuel lines, immobilizing the train. 6 seconds later, the second drone hit a fuel car positioned upwind of the ammunition cars. The 60,000 L of diesel fuel ignited upon contact with the destroyed locomotive, creating a flow of burning fuel down the tracks. The final drone targeted a central ammunition car with its KZ-6 warhead. The initial blast initiated a cook-off as the burning fuel heated adjacent cars, guaranteeing a sympathetic detonation that would create a chain reaction. In the aftermath, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed to have intercepted 22 Ukrainian drones in the region. However, civilian videos from Salsk showed a series of catastrophic explosions and a fire that burned for hours, sending a large plume of smoke into the atmosphere. The regional governor's official statement acknowledged damage to only 2 fuel tanks and a locomotive, a claim that contrasted sharply with the visual evidence of the successful Ukrainian operation. The financial impact of this single strike was significant. The neutralized Pantsir S1 system is valued at approximately $15 million. The destroyed 330 kV transformer costs an estimated $3 million. The locomotive and 37 rail cars add several million more. The most significant loss was the train's cargo. A full manifest of fuel, artillery shells and rockets could be worth tens of millions of dollars. A conservative estimate places the total value of destroyed Russian assets from this one operation at over $40 million. The SES station strike, is a case study in 21st century warfare where electronic countermeasures, tactical deception, and precise strikes are decisive. Operations like this are shaping the future of conflict. If you want to stay informed and understand the strategies being deployed in real time, consider subscribing to our channel. We provide in-depth analysis that breaks down complex military events, helping you see beyond the headlines.